Attention, brave viewers. This video features adults immersed in a spine-chilling horror RPG experience. The content likely includes supernatural elements, horror-related events, and potentially scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy.
Howdy, friends and floorheads. It's time again to visit the wonderful world of the Trail of Cthulhu. Our investigators have been traveling to the ancient Mayan period ruins of Chichen Xochitl, following the path of a previous expedition which was sent here by cult leader Jonathan Brooks for reasons which aren't quite known, but probably aren't anything good. When they arrived, they survived an ambush, explored a fair bit of the ruins, and found the remnants of that massacred previous expedition, before being trapped atop the Pyramid of the Sorcerer by bands of ancient warriors who seem to be flickering in and out of existence. James and Adrian have both slipped into a chamber somewhere below the altar room, but neither of them can seem to perceive the other, and the world around them is changing. What on earth, or perhaps not on earth, is happening here? Meanwhile, the camera cuts us to a busy street in Chicago. Cars and pedestrians are hurrying about their business. And we focus on a shabbily dressed man shuffling down the street. You can see other pedestrians sort of wrinkling their noses and giving him a wide berth. Despite the summer heat, he's wearing a ratty old greatcoat, and his hands are pressed against his chest as though trying to hold something in place under the coat. His pale face is dirty with stubble and glossy with snot, and his watery blue eyes are squinting as he shuffles up the stairs of one of the countless apartment buildings on the street. He finds what he's looking for, and the camera zooms in as his bony finger presses a button labeled B. Romano. Let's go to the opening credits. So here we all are in scenic Yucatan, Mexico. At least that's where we think we all are. As mentioned in the intro, the party is a bit split up at the moment. I want to start with Sal and Alice at the top of the Pyramid of the Sorcerer. You've just pulled back the rope that was until recently tied around Adrian's waist, which is just sliced clean across at a diagonal. You're surrounded on all four sides by groups of these strange, flickering ancient warriors who don't seem inclined to move up the pyramid, but are definitely keeping an eye on what's going on. Your guides and the remaining porters are sort of huddled in the room. Most of them are praying and look like they're getting ready to say their final goodbyes. They're not expecting this to end well. And you see Luke sort of glancing out, taking as much cover as he can behind the doorframe and looking out. And he says, "What's that?" And he points out, and you can see there's something moving from the southern part of the ruins. It's hard to make out the scale from here, especially because the thing is flickering much like the warriors are, but it's about the size of a large horse or maybe a small car. It moves like a cat, but it's shaped somewhat more like a toad. There are rows of eyes on its head and multiple tongues or tendrils or something hanging down from its mouth. And it is clearly making its way towards the pyramid. What would you two like to do?
I'm just holding the rope and I'm looking at this, and I turned to Sal and said, I think we lost Adrian. And what the... yeah, I don't know what that is. Sal, could you come over here?
Sal nods grimly and walks over.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a look down and see if he can see it.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Does it look like the warriors? Have they seen it? Are they reacting to it?
They do seem to be aware of it, and it gets closer. It looks like they're sort of stepping aside from the base of the stairs to sort of make a path for it.
Oh, geez. You think you can shoot it? I mean, it's bigger. Adrian, James.
There's no response.
I think I'm gonna walk to the other side. Is the pyramid, the space that we're in, open on all four sides? Does it?
Yeah, there are. I mean, there are walls on all four sides, but there are
Okay.
doorways in each direction.
Okay. Oh, geez. I'm gonna walk to the opposite side and look out.
Mm-hmm. The opposite side is mostly just jungle. There are some warriors down at the base of the thing, and they basically sort of they sort of see you and are watching, but they're not really doing anything.
Okay. Looks like we're cut off if we want to get out of here. But where's I don't know what happened to Adrian or James. How close do we let it get and you shoot it? I don't really know. Do we try and go after Adrian and James? Perhaps they've found a way to escape.
Well, I'm thinking if they found a way to escape, they would have let us know. So anyway, you do, what you need to do. I'm going to work on unaliving this thing. And he pulls out the Tommy gun.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you can certainly give a shot at it. Sort of reach to the bottom of the stairs and sort of glances back and forth through it, and then begins slowly making its way up. It doesn't appear like it's in any hurry.
Oh, yeah, it climbs too.
Mm-hmm.
This is just peachy.
So if you want to take a shot at it, you certainly can.
He's going to kind of do a couple of bursts.
Okay.
Not full auto. He's aiming to get rounds down range over a longer period of time rather than dumping all,
right, emptying
45 rounds. Yeah.
Right.
So it's going to be cake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead and give me your first shot there. Your target over this thing is 5. It's large, but it's, like the warriors, it's not always there at any given time.
Go ahead and spin 1.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. That'll definitely hit. You can roll me some damage.
How close is it?
It is, I think we'd call it medium range at this point.
Okay. So it should have a...
I think it's a +1.
Yep.
Okay. We'll take the 5 as the damage roll, or the 6 rather. Yeah, so I mean, it looks like it has a sort of tough, grainy hide on it, but you can definitely see some of the rounds going in. These are big 45 caliber rounds, and it hits it, and it's definitely bleeding, although the blood looks more black than anything else. And it sort of hisses and springs to the side a little bit. But it, after a moment's pause, it does continue climbing. Alice, while Sal's putting some discouraging fire downrange, what are you doing?
I think I'm going to call the attention of what's his name again? Pablo.
Oh yeah,
Pablo and Rick, and kind of direct them like, you need to help Sal.
Okay. Yeah, Rick certainly will take out his pistol and shoot. Pablo is a little less sanguine about the whole thing. I mean, he'll take some shots, but he's not nearly as good at it. Let's make a quick roll for those guys. Rick will put a point of his firearms in, so he hits it. Doesn't seem to do much past the hide, but it does. Pablo isn't very good a shot.
No, he is not.
No. Luke kind of moves to the other door on that side and looks out and says, I think it's still in the corner, but it looks like it's coming up.
I'll try and tell the porters, everybody take a door, look, keep an eye on it.
Okay. All right. They do, reluctantly, but they do. And while that's going on, we're going to cut to James. See what's going on with James and his new friend in the darkness of this pyramid. You can still hear the sort of chanting outside, catching glimpses of this conquistador, for lack of a better term, being dragged up the stairs to the altar above you. The person you're with keeps babbling at you in Spanish. You have no idea what he's saying. What would you like to do?
I'm gonna turn to him and just like give him a shh.
Okay, it takes a moment before his words run out, but then they kind of do, and he nods.
So I'm gonna peek back outside. So we've got this conquistador being dragged up. Any indication that these Mayans can see me that are dragging him?
It looks like they're not paying attention. They look like their attention is focused on whatever's above you in the, the room above, the altar room.
Yep. And does it look different than the way they looked when I was with everybody else? Are they flickering?
I mean, no, they're fully solid. They appear to be regular people, albeit from several hundred years ago.
So, quick check on my gun. Make sure it's loaded.
Everything looks fine.
Yeah, put it back into its my little shoulder holster. And I'm going. In hopes of finding Alice and Sal there, and I want to warn them. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so I want to slide back out the same way I came in.
And kind of, comes over and sort of.
I'll pause for a second, and I push him away. No, I can't let.
He's trying to communicate something, and you have no idea what he's trying to tell you.
And I'm sure I should be heeding this, but I'm also very concerned. I mean, everybody. There's these Mayans, going up there. Yeah, I do stitch these together when I archive it on YouTube. But in the meantime, if this is the first thing you're watching and I haven't stitched it together yet, you want to watch the other one first.
This doesn't normally happen.
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and get started.
All right, sounds good. So to recap, for those who had some audio problems earlier, some sort of large, weird, unnatural creature is menacing Sal and Alice and the surviving porters and guides up at the top of the pyramid. James is in the middle of, or rather underneath, some sort of Mayan sacrifice and is preparing to slip out to try and see what's going on and warn his friends, despite the fact that his new companion, who only speaks Spanish, of course, seems to be warning him not to. So, James, just give me a quick athletics roll to tell me how well you get out of this thing.
Yeah. So hopefully that's well enough. Yeah,
it should be fine. Oh yeah, no problem at all. You've been through this thing a couple times now, so you slip out, and it's interesting. It's hot out here. It feels like the jungle as much as you've seen, but the air smells different. It's weird, and as you get out and kind of come out onto the stairs and look up to see what's up ahead of you, there is no sign of Sal or Alice or any of the porters or anything up there. You see a couple Mayans there, in enormous feathered headgear. One of them is and you can see as this Spanish soldier you saw being brought up is being laid down on the altar that you saw up there earlier, and the shaman or priest or whatever you see him pull up this big, looks like a stone knife, maybe obsidian, and is clearly getting ready to make some kind of a sacrifice.
This doesn't make any sense.
That's true.
So Sal's gone, Adrian's gone,
Mm-hmm.
Alice is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I like, a part of me is like, well, I need to save this person, but I'm like, nah, I don't even care about how neural this person is. What am I think I slide back away.
Okay.
Headed back down.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to go back and with my friend.
Okay.
My new friend. So yeah, I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
My whole purpose to go up there was to save everybody or warn everybody.
And
they're not there.
They're not there. Yeah, so you kind of come down, and he actually reaches out and helps pull you into the room.
Okay.
And as he pulls you through, you hear a scream from up above, as though of someone being stabbed in the heart, for example. And after a moment, there's like a circular opening in the roof that sort of irises open, and it's
above me.
Yeah, above the center of this room. Okay. And it's like something that Craig would recognize as like a Star Trek door, kind of pivoting out in a very mechanical manner. James has no frame of reference, and certainly it's not an ancient Mayan thing. And you can see that there is kind of blood dripping down around the edges of this hole. This is like where that big decorative circle was that you saw above. And you see, this shaman look down. He's clutching this bloody heart in his hand, and he looks down and points towards you and your buddy, and says and shouts something. He's clearly very upset. And all of a sudden, there's that flicker of light again. And it's closed again, and the light changes, and you're somewhere else. Adrian, you're down here with a disconnected rope and a book in a language you can't read. What would you like to do?
What does it seem like outside?
So you go and take a look at one of the slits, and at first, the buildings and the structures look much like they did when you got here. It's the sort of ruined mess of ruined structures. But then on the horizon, first thing you realize is you think the colors are weird because all the foliage, the jungle around you looks more red than green. Mm-hmm. And then there is like some kind of, the only thing you can think of is there is some kind of fire or something off in the distance, but the flames are sort of bluish in color. Everything looks like it's the colors have been switched in some way. You can see, like, all across the middle of this, there's this pile of smoldering ash, and there are actually craters all around in this area. And then above you, there is this enormous purple planet, like a gas giant or something. And it looks like in the surface of that planet, there is an eye, for lack of a better term, kind of like the eye of Jupiter, except that it seems to have a pupil, and you can't stop feeling like it's looking at you.
That's fun.
Yeah. That's not right. Honestly, you can't imagine even doing it with a knife would be this clean.
That's what I was thinking. In Adrian's mind, they're kind of thinking, I don't know what's happened to James, but something tells me I'm in a potential future. They don't know why. They're just kind of trying to think, okay, there's been weird timeline stuff happening. I don't remember reading any history books about suddenly.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just have to make sure this doesn't happen. Trying for a moment, because remembering that James.
Okay. All right. Seems good. So
when we can visibly see it, we open up on it again. That's
all right, so you're just holding position and waiting to see.
I've got my Molotov cocktail. I'm going to look back, and I think, Sal, we need to be ready to run. And I'm going to grab my backpack and put it on, and stay near Sal, and just ready to throw it. And I'll say, did that thing look big enough that it would be able to get through wherever?
It might be a little too big to get through the door.
Through our doors?
Yeah, the doors into this altar room.
Okay. So well, it might not be able to get in. So maybe we stay. Then it's definitely not big enough to get into wherever Adrian and.
Oh yeah, it's definitely too big to go through those slits on the side of the pyramid.
Adrian and James, do we try and follow them? And I'm just talking and got, I've taken out I've got my lighter in one hand, my Molotov cocktail in the other, and my backpack with all my medical supplies on ready.
And you hear kind of a thumping sound, and you think it probably has jumped onto the roof of the room you're in.
I look up.
Well, I mean, it's a solid stone ceiling. You don't see anything.
Perhaps we should move a bit back from the openings?
In the middle of the room.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody sort of huddles up around the altar.
Back to back.
It does not seem to be in any hurry to expose itself to more gunfire.
Okay. Well, I mean, we wait it out. Maybe it'll get bored and leave. I don't think we should be out. Let's not go out there. Or, well, Pablo, do you want to go out there?
And he looks at you as though you have asked him if he wants to take his head off and play basketball with it.
No, I thought not. Okay, so let's wait.
Well, we can't stay here forever. We ain't got supply.
Yeah, but we can stay. I mean, James and Adrian will need to get back, and we can stay here for at least, well, not forever, but more than 5 minutes. I'm not going out there now.
Well,
Maybe a little
if they
bit
can
bored.
get back here, that thing up there can get to them.
Well, wait it out. We need to be patient. We need to be patient. Just be ready to hey, let's all cover one of the entryways. So Pablo, you there? Luke, you there? I'll cover this entry. When it comes in, we'll take it out.
Okay. So everybody takes a covered position. A couple of the porters have actually climbed up onto the altar to try and be farther away from the doors. And there's a long period of waiting. James, things have changed again around you. The lighting from outside is different.
Mm-hmm. Is my friend gone?
No, he's still here.
Okay. But the roof is now...
The roof is solid once more.
Okay. And do I see any indication that it can open, right? So do I see...
There's
a solid roof.
There's a very faint circle. Looks like it's about the size of that seal you saw in the floor upstairs. So it's maybe 4 feet across, but honestly, it's dark in here. The stone's kind of rough. You might be imagining it. If it's there, it's a very fine line.
Yeah. At this point, the gun never goes back in the holster. My pistol is permanently in my right hand now.
That makes sense.
I got to see what's outside. So I'm going to once again slide up into one of those slits and just try to peek out and see what my new surroundings are.
Okay. And you see something that's kind of similar to what I described to Adrian a few minutes ago, the weird red foliage and that sort of thing. The big gas giant above. You don't see the sort of eye that Adrian perceived, but I mean, it looks like this same place, but it doesn't look like Earth like you know it.
Right.
And a couple things you see sort of catch your eye particularly. One is that walking around in the ruins, and there are some more of what look like these Mayans or whatever kind of warriors. They seem to be just going about their business. But among them are maybe a half dozen big animals of some kind. They look sort of like toads, but they move like cats on these weird long legs. And as you kind of look out the window to see what's going on, you see all of them kind of simultaneously turn their heads and look up at the pyramid.
Do I feel like they're looking at me or they can see me?
You feel like they sensed that something has changed there.
Okay.
You don't think they can see you. The other thing that strikes you is that in the middle of the sort of open area of the plaza is this enormous domed structure. It's like a big, and again, carved like some kind of giant frog or something. And then you see it shift and you realize it's not a structure. This thing with, at one end, there's like a dozen long spindly tails kind of twitching around in the dust. And at the other end, there is a steaming mouth with a dozen or more of these snake-like tongues coming out. And they're sort of sucking up the ashes and the dust and the bones in the yard. And there are smaller versions of this thing. And when I say smaller, they're the size of a car, kind of clinging to it and like they're suckling on it. And then its eyes open on the side of its head, one after another, after another, after another, and it looks up like its companions did at the top of the tower. And then you see these tattered black wings unfold from its back, and it starts to take off. And there's no way anything that big could fly. Wings like that couldn't possibly even support it. It's like watching a building take flight as it lurches into the air and begins to flap towards the pyramid. This may surprise you, but I'm going to call for a stability roll here.
Yeah, big shocker there.
Yeah, your target number is 5.
Okay.
The cost of failure in this is going to be 10 points.
Oh, all
10?
right.
Yes.
So let's do this. We are definitely going to spend 3.
Okay. Cool. So tell me how James parses this in his head, that this impossible thing doesn't just break him.
I am hallucinating. So this isn't real. Somehow everything I'm physically in contact with is still there, right? So this pyramid has unchanged structurally for me. So obviously, I don't know if I've been drugged or my mind has broken maybe, but for me, that's not real. That is,
Sure.
that is
Obviously
a trick of the mind. Something is messing me up. But I'm not so convinced by that I feel like, laughing and pointing at it saying, I don't believe you. So I want to slide back in and I want to see if all the other 3 facings, am I seeing the same thing, the same red foliage and the sky?
Yeah, the view is consistent through all sides.
And what is my friend doing?
When he saw that thing begin to move, he just basically ducked down in a corner of the room as far away from the windows as possible and is holding himself. He's clearly terrified.
I got to go back up and check the altar room, and I can't just stand here. I can't. So I'm going to go on the far side. So if we were looking south is where I'm seeing this beast. I'm going to go to the north side. I want to slide out and go back up to the altar room and see if my friends are there.
All right. So as you start moving across the room to do that, you feel the pyramid shake as this enormous bulk settles down onto it. And several of the slits are just blotted out by the body of this thing.
My God.
And then there is a weird lurching sensation, as though everything moved to the left a foot or so for a second and then came back, and you kind of find yourself off balance momentarily. Adrian, you're scoping out the situation, waiting to see when that changes, and the light does flicker again, but it's different. There is a lurch to it. There is a shift, as if everything had suddenly changed, and you find yourself stumbling forward a few feet just because of that unexpected movement. And then you look around and you see James with a gun. There's another man over in the corner who seems startled that you've arrived. Sal and Adrian, you're kind of hunkering down, waiting for this thing to come. The tension is becoming unbearable, and then there's this sudden, tremor almost in the pyramid, and you find yourselves, after a brief sensation of falling some impossible distance, you find yourselves in this same room with Adrian and James and Luke and Pablo and the porters all in here, and this other strange man that none of you recognize. And you've all come to be in this room in the same time and place somehow. And then the round opening in the ceiling of the room sort of irises out impossibly smoothly and cleanly. And on the other side is one enormous, unblinking eye staring down at you all. I'm going to need those of you who haven't made that TN 5 10-point stability roll, make it for me.
Stability, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll spend the 3.
Oof.
Uh-oh.
Okay,
I'll spend 4.
Okay, so you're good. Sal is also
not
good.
good.
Alice is not taking this. Alice, what does that put your current stability at after you spend 3 and lose 10?
-7.
-7. All right. So, looking at the rules here, that describes your mind as blasted. This means that you may develop a long-term mental condition as a result of this. We'll see what happens there. You are also considered shaken. You can't spend points from your investigative abilities, and all of your other difficulty numbers go up by 1 while you're in this state until you get back to a positive stability number. The good news is that you cannot lose any further stability in this scene. This is the worst that it can possibly be for you right now.
I think what Alice's reaction is, she's just gonna chuck the Molotov cocktail at the eye and turns around and just goes into covers herself, and it's just chanting. It's like it's I'm not back there. I'm not back there. I'm not back there.
So the rest of you see this flaming bottle. Alice, with not entirely surprising quickness and reaction time, throws this flaming bottle up at the eye, and you see it sort of splash over the surface, and the flames get it, and then it's like, and the eyes, it doesn't really, it kind of, like the pupil moves a little bit is the only reaction you see, and then there's sort of, I think they call it a nictitating membrane, like an extra eyelid just kind of slides across the eye and back, and the flames are gone. And then what I can only describe as a bolt of lightning or energy like that shoots out of the pupil of the eye and hits Alice in the head.
Oh my God.
And then it spider webs out to everyone else in the room. Let's take a 10-minute break. So the energy, whatever it is that is coursing through and over and between all of you, doesn't hurt as such. There's a tingling physically, but it's hard to pay attention to the physical sensations, because what you immediately feel is this thing, whatever kind of mind is behind that eye, is rummaging through your memories like a man might flip through a box of old photographs. And you can feel your memories getting tangled up with one another.
With each other?
Yeah. Sal, you remember the first time you walked into the Louvre and got to see the Mona Lisa and the coronation of Napoleon. Alice, you remember how proud you were when your Chicago PD badge was pinned on you for the first time. James, you remember making love with your husband in a beachfront hotel in Nice. Adrian, you remember gunning down the cultists who were responsible for your mother's death. And you know these things aren't yours, but they all kind of glom together in this gestalt of memories. And this thing, you don't get the sense that it's particularly interested in any of it. It's just kind of looking for something. And you get the sense, not that you can really ascribe any human motives to it, but it seems to be trying to find something and maybe see if you're suitable for something. James, what's the worst thing you've ever done?
Relatively early in my career, any illusion that I had had as a cop that there is good and bad, right and wrong, and everything was clean had been completely eroded away. I had people that I arrested, set free on technicalities, and people that were killed that had nothing to do with anything. It just innocent blood spilled. And there was a low level wet worker for the mob that I finally captured, finally had him at gunpoint. And I knew what he had done. I knew what he was responsible for. And in a blink, I shot him in cold blood. And then arranged the scene to make it look like he had his gun in his hand. I fired his gun. I purposely shot myself like in the shoulder with that gun and staged it to look like self-defense. And that was a bridge I crossed, and you don't go back from that. So it led to me doing some other things that in my mind I had justified, but that is by far killing a man in cold blood.
Okay. And so when it comes across that memory, and you all know this now, you remember as if you had done it yourselves.
Fantastic.
And it seems like it is, I don't know, it's hard to apply the word satisfied to an intelligence like this, but it's moving on. And it seems to be maybe looking through things about what drives you, what motivates you. Sal, what is your greatest desire in life?
That's a hard one. I think for Sal, his greatest desire would be to avenge his mother's death. I think that's what drives him. He puts on this air of, silliness sometimes, but that is literally what drives him. He knows that something out there killed his mother, and he's going to hunt it.
Mm-hmm. And you've all seen the memory. He has certainly killed some people in the past who are tied into it, but he knows there's more behind it, and he's determined to find it. Then it seems to be focusing a lot on different memories that you might have of being stolen from, being betrayed, losing something valuable. Alice, what was a time when something precious was taken from you?
It's 1921, and we were on a road from Nice, but now we're in a ditch. And I'm looking over to the driver's seat of the car, and James, my husband is, well, there's blood coming off his face, and the steering wheel has gone straight through his torso. He's dying. And I'm not feeling well either. Something banged me really badly in the stomach. And James is looking at me, and I can see his light fading, and I say, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And I can feel the contractions. Yeah, it's going to be all right. And yeah. So.
And as this is going on, the part of you that's aware of what's going on in the physical space around you can see that all of you have tears streaming from your eyes. And you can see that a couple of the porters who are caught up in this, literally you see them crumble to ash as this memory strikes. There's a sense that this thing has been looking through all of you and has found what it wants and isn't interested in them. The memories it starts bringing to mind now and rummaging through are somewhat more familiar. You catch glimpses of the recent memories you have of seeing mouths in places they should not be. And there is something that suggests that behind all of those mouths, they all connect to some sort of central body somewhere. And the sense you get is that whatever is behind those mouths has stolen something from this being that is ransacking your minds, and it wants revenge. And the thing that has stolen from it is hiding somewhere, and it wants to know where. Adrian, what's something you've been hiding from?
They weren't always named, they weren't Adrian Fisher from birth. They were born Edith Hayes of the Hayes family fortune, old money in New York. He grew up, raised as a girl. At first, always curious as a kid, but oblivious to the suffering of the people outside the 1%. They had a friend that they didn't tell their parents about. A homeless man that they would go and visit, who didn't speak very well, had a stutter. Visit him regularly. One day, a police guard saw that. Immediately called a group over of his fellow men, started beating the man, assured that it was some deranged criminal attacking a well-meaning lady of the courts. Adrian, at the time Edith, could have stopped them, she imagines. But she ran. That night, whenever she got home, she had the finest roast dinner that only people of great fortune could ever dream of having. And for the past 10 years, that was maybe when she was 15, she has refused to ever be that again, to ever run again. She hides from that fear itself.
and you can feel that this thing is sort of combining all the memories it's found from you. It's focusing on this thing that is hiding from it and what it's taken and how much it wants its revenge. And you see it's an image like you feel it's probably from Sal's perspective. And it seems as though he's finally reached and is ready to confront the thing that has been responsible for all this misfortune, but you can tell it's also the thing that has been responsible for this cult that you've been fighting against all this time. It's sort of the heart of all the bad things you've been dealing with, and you feel yourself as Sal speaking some word that you don't recognize, and something toad-like forces its way out of your mouth and begins to grow and charges and consumes the thing that you've been trying to fight. And the image somehow is clear in your mind, or the meaning. This thing is offering that when you find the body that goes with all these mouths, when you find the source of this evil and this cult, you can summon it forth to destroy that thing for you. So what I would like you each to do, if you have a pen and like an index card or a piece of paper nearby, I would like each of you to write down either yes or no. Yes means you're going to allow this thing to put that knowledge of how to summon it into your mind, and no means you do not want it. And then when we've all written it down, we'll simultaneously reveal everybody's decisions and see what we have.
I don't have anything to write it down on, but
You can give me a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah.
So, yes, I want to know. No, I don't want to know.
Yeah, I've committed to it on my notes, though.
Sure. I believe you. Oh, Naomi, I'm feeling it. All right, everybody got a decision? All right, so 3, 2, 1. Show me what you got. And of course, all right, Sal says yes. Max says no, or Adrian says no. I didn't see yours, Naomi. It didn't come up on camera, but it's too blanked out. Is it a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that was a thumbs up from James as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right. So only Adrian decides that they do not want this knowledge. So the rest of you feel this information being pressed into your brain. In game terms, you're each going to have learned an exciting new spell.
Okay.
I'm going to need those of you who aren't Alice, who is already maxed out, to make me a stability test. It's a target number of 5, but only a 2-point loss.
Okay. I'm just going to do it straight, I think.
Sure.
Same here.
All right. I fail, so I'll lose 2.
Yep.
All right. It takes me to -1.
Okay. So you're shaken. So, you can't spend investigative points, and all your other target numbers go up by 1. Looks like Sal's. Was that Sal, that last roll? Good. You're good.
How?
Alice is fine.
Do I press test?
I thought you said no. I thought you weren't learning it.
Oh, I thought everybody.
Yeah, this is just a side effect of learning.
Gotcha.
Adrian's the same one.
Yeah, well, yes.
Who'd have guessed with those eyes? Dang.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm gonna make this visible to you for later, so you guys know how that will work if and when it becomes necessary to use it. And it seems satisfied with that, I guess. And then it starts ransacking through your memories again. James, what's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear My greatest fear is, in my mind, my path to salvation, even though I'm not religious, is to be a protector and to really try to always do good now, and never slip backwards again. My greatest fear is that I am once again going to fail and but fail others, but by doing that, fail this promise I've made to myself that I'm never going to do that again in any form. So yeah, that's my biggest fear is failing others and myself as a result.
Okay. And it seems to combine that fear of failure memory with Alice's memory of the blood and the death and the loss. And you can tell that what it's trying to tell you is that if any of you ever return here, you'll die.
Okay.
And then the eye blinks shut and pulls away from that opening. The lightning stops. You drop to the ground as though it was holding you up. There is a lurching movement. And then you're back here. The porters are piles of ash on the ground. Your Spanish-speaking friend that you found under the pyramid is likewise gone. Pablo and Luke are still alive, although it's hard to tell if they just have that glassy-eyed 1,000-yard stare on them. You hear the distant sound of jungle birds, and looking out the slits, it looks like you're back where you started.
Who's closer to me, Alice or Adrian?
Who can say?
Well, Adrian's immediately going to be running to Alice, seeing that they have definitely fallen to the floor and
Okay.
collapsed in on themselves.
I'm going to do the same. I'm going to run to Alice as well. And just first look to you, Adrian, as we're convening on Alice. And are you okay?
I'm fine.
Sal?
Alice?
Sal climbs to his feet like, the fuck was that?
Okay, that's all I needed to hear from you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Alice. Alice.
Alice? You're right here. You're right here, Alice. Okay?
I'm crying.
It's okay.
I think it's entirely possible that all of you are crying, whether consciously or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm crying, but as I look at James and Adrian, it looks like I'm grimacing, but then you realize I'm smiling. I'm saying, I'm going to get him back. I'm going to get him back.
Alice, no, sweetie, we're back. We're back where we were a few minutes ago. It's okay.
I made the deal, and I'll get him back.
For now, we're right here. Nothing else right now, okay? Okay, just focus on the ground. Focus on my hands. It's okay.
I'll get James back.
It's okay. It's gonna be okay. And do I need to spend any psychoanalysis to stabilize an erratic character in this instance?
You certainly can. If you were to get her stability up to, say, -5, that would put her out of the blasted range, which would at least, I think, make her a little better suited to getting along with the group.
I'll go ahead and do that then.
Okay.
See, how much do I have to spend as an alienist? Let me go find it.
Is yours 2 for 1 or 3 for 1? I don't recall offhand.
But at least 1 point I would definitely be spending 2.
Yeah.
One point to stabilize erratic characters.
Okay.
Can recover Yeah. So just getting them to at least -5.
Yeah, and you were at -7 to start with. Okay. So yeah, let's. All right, so let's bring you up to -5 as you get a little. You're certainly not well, but you're a little more present. Let's say.
I'll be fine. It's all gonna be fine. I'll be fine.
It's okay.
Don't mind me. Nobody's hurt?
Nope, we're leaving.
We're going right now, okay?
We're leaving.
Let's go. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Goodbye. Let's go.
All right.
James?
Yeah, Doc.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. We're leaving.
Let's get out of here.
Okay.
And then,
The circular opening in the ceiling above you is open, so you can climb out of that if you want.
just trying to guide, was it Luke or Rick?
Rick.
Rick and Pablo up, just trying to guide them out.
Yeah, and they will sort of go where they're led at this point, but neither of them seems to have a lot of initiative at the moment. But they will follow you along. When you get out into the altar room up at the top, once you're all there, the great purple seal kind of iris is closed to the point you can't even see where the seams were. Looking out, there's no sign of any of the warriors or anything else. It's just an old set of ruins.
Okay. And Adrian's job is basically just going to be making sure that Pablo and Rick are able to get down the stairs at this point.
Yeah, it's a slow process. You still have the supplies up here that the porters were carrying, so you'll have enough food to get back, assuming you're going back to Merida.
Yeah.
And I imagine it is a long, quiet walk. I feel like there's probably not a lot of conversation going on at this point, because what can you even say? You get well out of the ruins, make camp the first night. The jungle feels normal here, the bird songs and the heat and the monkey noises. Any discussion or conversation or anything going on around the campfire, or is everyone deep in their own thoughts?
I will go to you, Doc, and just say, I appreciate you taking care of them, but no, if they slow us up again tomorrow, we're leaving them.
I'm not doing that, James.
Well, let's hope they keep up, because they slowed us down. We would have been much farther away from that.
I'm not leaving them behind here.
I understand. I understand.
Salsor looks at James and just sort of gives just a slight disapproving sort of you can see across his face for a brief second, and then he goes back into his own thoughts.
And I acknowledge it, but I don't do anything about it.
Alice is quiet, but otherwise she's going to check everybody's wounds and is trying to be as normal as she can. So
Yeah.
she has, she'll check the bullet wounds for James and for Sal. Seems all right. And then she's sitting near the campfire, looking down at the bandage on her leg. And
Yeah, getting back to sort of a normal pattern of behavior certainly helps.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I think that, looking at her leg, she's gonna. She wants to freak out again. She's used to freaking out and it's kind of half-heartedly like, oh, it hurts. And then she'll perhaps look over to Adrian and say, Adrian, can you perhaps help me with this one? It's hard to stitch yourself up, and she'll kind of get distracted again.
Just make sure you're not watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe look away for this one.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
got any medical alcohol? I think I used up the.
What was that? Sorry, good shot on my end.
Do you have any medical alcohol? I think I've run out. I don't know what happened to the. Yeah. No. You didn't get hurt anywhere, did you?
Oh no, they never go for the lanky ones. You know that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have a first aid kit, but it's very rudimentary. I might have some alcohol. Let me check.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It'll be
Brian,
fine.
can I spend a point of preparedness?
Sure, it's entirely reasonable.
I will spend that point of preparedness, and I will. I got a little silver flask in my kind of in my backpack, and kind of reach in and grab it and hand it to Alice.
And I'll take it, and I look at Sal and I say, "Thank you." And I'll just. And even though she's just going to down it. She just and then stops and say, "I think there's a little left for you. Sorry, I owe you one." And then
He
she's just going to
takes it and shoots down the rest of it.
And I'm just going to curl up next to the fire and sleep.
Yeah. The night passes without incident. In the morning, Rick seems like he's back to his old self. It almost strikes you, Adrian, it's like he's almost forgotten what happened. He makes a couple mentions like, yeah, those ruins were kind of disappointing. It's probably not worth going back. Like he's telling himself that.
You'll never have to go back, I promise.
Yeah. And Pablo is just kind of, his hand has not left the crucifix around his neck. And he's just kind of muttering prayers to himself in Spanish constantly. But he's up and he's mobile and he's moving better than he did yesterday.
If it seems like it'll help Pablo at all, Adrian will go through the rosary with him, do all the Hail Marys and
he does appreciate that. Obviously the language is different, but the ritual is the same. So that does seem to settle him a little bit. And the rest of the trip back to Merida is, after everything, blessedly uneventful. You find yourselves probably in the afternoon of the second day, seeing the outskirts of the city ahead of you. What are your plans once you're back at civilization?
Adrian wants to take De La Vega shit, but maybe we focus on finding a place first. Find the room that we were in.
Yeah, I think at some point as we start to get to the outskirts, I'm going to throw out there, let's go back to the hotel. I know I need a shower. But tomorrow morning, I think we need to get together and talk.
Okay.
We need to. Yeah. I think we need to. Yeah, we need to talk. All of you, especially with the connections that we've made, I think you'll sense just a level of shame coming from me. what we saw before with me, I was very paternal and authoritative, right, when I needed to be, and that tone is gone. I don't have that authority in my voice anymore.
Okay. So you make your way back to your hotel. I mean, you had checked out, not knowing how long you were. But the your rooms are still available. There's not a lot of traffic through here this time of year, and they they're able to put you back in. Something that is odd when you check in, looking at the calendar. You're checking in on Wednesday the 24th, which means you were at the ruins apparently for over a week.
Okay. Brian, when I realized that, does that make sense as far as like our provisions? Like,
no, you didn't. You definitely didn't go through. That was maybe you had a week's worth of food total for the trip there and back and going in. And even thinking about, the amount of times you rested and the month of night, you didn't spend that much time there.
Yeah, and I think the reason I would ask that or check that, the reason that I would check that is I need to get a sense of, did I lose time, right? So is there things I don't remember, or did time slip? And I think it's obvious based on the relics and the evidence that time slipped. It's not that I have forgotten. So,
I mean, you don't have any sense of lost time, but
right,
time was weird in that whole situation.
Yep.
What time is it about that we get back to the hotel, you
think? Probably 4:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. I think Alice is going to drop her bags in her room and head over to the hospital. I mean, she's quiet and she's looking for a normality, and she wants to get her leg checked out. So she's just kind of focused on, going into nurse mode, going into, getting checked out. I need to up my supplies. I need to get some heavy duty painkillers. I need to get everything. I need to get this leg checked out because I don't want gangrene, and you don't want.
No, you do not.
Blood poisoning, and there's malaria. Do they have malaria here? I don't know. So, and she's just gonna meet up with the nurses and with a big smile on her face, like you wouldn't guess whatever happened.
And they
story. Yeah.
When you arrive, they kind of give you a "oh my god, what the hell happened to you" look, but they don't say that out loud.
Yeah.
But they they certainly take a look and tend to the wound, thoroughly clean it out. They compliment the stitching that was done in the field. And it looks. Are you physically down health at this point?
Just 1 point.
Okay, well that they are able to sort that back out, so you're fixed from that perspective.
And I'm gonna stock up on everything that I can, and then
they're happy to help you out.
Yeah, just talking shop, asking them, well, this can't be the weirdest and the worst you've had coming out of the jungle, right? You've got to have set, and then she'll head back to the hotel.
Okay.
I'll knock on Sal and I'll knock on James's door. Like, you want me to do a wound check? And otherwise she'll go back to her room.
I would have just yelled through the door. No, I'll see you in the morning. Oh, you're on mute.
Sal wouldn't have answered. Yeah, he wouldn't have answered.
Okay. Anybody else have anything particular they want to do in the evening other than just rest and get cleaned up and try and come back to civilization?
Adrian probably is the last to fall asleep because he stays outside. He is terrified of the idea that after hearing Alice talk about getting her husband back, is terrified any of them will go run out and do something. he doesn't get a lot of sleep because he spends a good few hours at just looking at the doors, making sure that none of them go do something reckless again. And by the time he's actually able to fall asleep, it's mostly from exhaustion, from probably crying while he was out there.
Fair enough.
Sal's going to take another shower. This is probably about the third shower he's had,
Mhm.
and he's going to look at the wounds, and they're still very, very raw. And I mean, he is still very damaged, but he just kind of cleans them. He quickly dries off and goes out into the bedroom, where he sleeps, lays all the firearms out, and takes his dagger out, starts sharpening it, starts cleaning everything, and it's just very mechanical.
And we the camera kind of cuts from room to room as we see everybody dealing with this bizarre trauma in their own way. And then the night passes. Each of you, since there's been relative calm on the way back and a night passing without incident, each of you can refresh up to 3 of your general abilities back to their maximum, other than health, sanity, and stability.
Okay.
So any of your general skills can get refreshed.
So that would mean not the interpersonal ones, right?
General are, let me get my list up here so I remember what I'm talking
I see it now.
So
Yep.
athletics.
Do you do that through edit or?
Yeah, you have to click on it, then you'll have the pool and the rating, and then you just up your pool.
Okay.
So I do it to firearms, athletics. I can't do it to health.
Correct.
I will do it to my all right, and scuffling is my third.
Okay.
I'm done.
Sense trouble. And psychoanalysis.
Okay.
I'll do 1 in firearms and 2 in first aid.
Well, it's three skills go all the way back up.
Oh, 3 skills. Oh, 3.
Yeah,
you
not just 3
refresh 3
points.
skills.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Then firearms, first aid, and sense trouble.
Yeah, I did sense trouble, firearms, and athletics.
All right. Sounds good. So the morning comes, and despite everything, you feel a little rested, a little bit more human again. And I guess you're probably meeting for breakfast.
Yeah. I think the first thing I want to get a sense of, Brian, is how private of a conversation can we have here at breakfast?
If you mention to the the manager or the front desk, they have a little side room that they're happy to let you use.
Perfect. Yeah, so I will have arranged that down first thing in the morning. So I'll be at that room, and I've told the staff to direct each of you to the room,
Which they do.
And I come down quite early. I'm immaculately dressed. I head straight to is it buffet or do we order? And I'm just gonna.
It's a fairly small menu, but yeah.
Okay, so I look at the menu and I say, I'll have that and some chilaquiles as well. And you have jugo de naranja, 2 of those, por favor, and that. And I just order pretty much the menu. I say, menu dos faces, and sit down and wait.
Sal comes in, and again, he is favoring. He gets with that gunshot wound in his left arm.
I think his left shoulder. Yeah.
You can definitely tell it's still bothering him, but much like Alice, he is immaculately dressed in a suit, just kind of like the same, as you found him that first time you met.
right?
And he sits down, orders just a couple of things off the menu. Small things, like toast, and that's it.
Sal, you're as Alice's menu comes out. You're a big boy. You need to eat more than that. Here, have some of my chilaquiles. They're really good. Do you need me to look at that shoulder?
Perhaps.
Okay. Well, afterwards.
It is bothering me a little.
James, aren't you having anything? You can't live on just coffee.
Sure. And whatever you push towards me, I'll eat. I think I was just going to drink coffee was the plan, but
You gotta eat.
Adrian comes in, and as they usually seem to be in the morning, is just not nicely dressed, but not put together. Just a dress shirt with like the first 2 buttons open. Looks very casual, but is wearing his black gloves that he hasn't really worn since we met in New York. And doesn't really order anything, but it doesn't seem out of avoidance, just does not think to do that.
Okay. James, you sit, eat.
yeah. Okay. All right.
Adrian, you've got to try some of these chilaquiles. They're really good. And I pass you a second plate, and I say, another one. Unos más.
Okay.
And I'm just eating.
The kitchen is happy to provide you with all of the chilaquiles you need. And eventually all the food comes in. There's a pot of coffee and a carafe of orange juice. And they, basically head out and shut the doors and, say, just knock if you need anything.
Thank you.
I'm going to stand up and just look to all of you and go, I think the only chance we have is to end this cult and this thing. I don't know what is going to happen. By no means do I expect any of you to do it with me.
You couldn't stop me, James.
But if anything that we experienced was real, then I just stand there. When I realize that I'm not going to be able to verbalize this any more than I just have, I just sit down.
What we experienced is something no one else should ever have to. The fact that we're still able to stand and talk means that, at least to me, we have some obligation to make sure this doesn't happen again. I don't plan on stepping down, but I understand if you do. Any of you. Again, this is something none of us should have had to go through.
Hell no, we're going to go kill that mouth. And now we have the means to do it. We're going to... It's... Well, what did they say? Fight fire with fire, right? So we're going to kill that myth. We're going to kill that mouth. And I'm going to get James back. But no, we're going to kill that mouth. And then I'm just going to continue eating.
So, you know a bit about this, don't you?
So,
Then you know we can't step down after everything we've seen.
oh, I've got no intentions of stepping down. I'm just refueling to go kick more ass.
I'm sorry if I end up proving not much help as it goes on from here. I'm much more used to helping people after they go through something. I don't know if I'll always have the words to help with what we go through.
Doc,
That's about the only thing I'm worth, but I'll do my
just
best.
being here is more help than you could ever imagine.
We need somebody to keep us sane. Won't you, Laquilas?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was going to nudge us onward, but if there's still conversation, carry on.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to grab a silence when it happens and go, do we go to the Far East? Is that what's next?
There's locations in Europe as well. It might be easier to go there. Do you think we should start Far East?
I don't know.
I can map something out. I've seen some of the connections. We at least know 2 of the different places where this was happening. But first, before we do any of that, Brooks wasn't there. So we're not done here yet. We have to get back to Mexico City first.
Okay. And I was going to argue with you until you said Mexico City, because I thought you were hinting or might even be talking about going back to where, and as soon as I realized that's not what you meant, I'm like, oh, yes, Mexico City.
Yeah.
James, I know that I... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
James, dear, I know that I give the air of somebody who would happily go back to that situation. I know I probably gave the air while we were there, but I assure you, even I have levels that I don't enjoy. My curiosity only goes so far, even if it goes quite far.
So we're going to check out, hop in the car and go?
What were you about to say, Sal?
Sal kind of picks himself up from, he's leaning over the table, and he says, first off, I'm sorry that you saw whatever you saw in my head. That's personal, and it feels, I just feel dirty. That being said, let's go back to Mexico City, and let's go put that Brooks bastard in the ground.
Seems like
Perhaps
a good
we
start.
ask if somebody saw him around town? Maybe he came back while we were gone?
Well, we can see if anything's been happening at that bar they went to. See if, Lucieta?
That was La Paz.
La Plaza.
Mm-hmm.
See if the old band's there. And you see that Adrian is going... He usually lounges very, in modern terms, queerly. He is going all in on it now. He looks like he was born diagonal.
That is a great phrase, and I'm going to use it again somewhere. Yeah, and actually, it occurs to you that if you guys head back to Mexico City today, tomorrow night is when the band you were investigating or has been working with them is scheduled to play, so that might be good timing. So it sounds like everyone is, if you'll pardon the expression, of one mind on what happens next.
Well done. Well done.
Oh, funny guy.
Too soon.
So I guess if there's nothing else you want to accomplish here, you guys pack the car up and begin the long drive back to Mexico City.
I think we flew in.
No, you had talked about it, but I think you wound up taking a car so you could bring the Tommy gun.
Before we leave, I want to try and check, around Merida, see if we hear that anybody else came out of the jungle while we were gone. Because Brooks had gone in, we think, but hadn't returned when we left.
Well, here's the thing. Brooks sent his people, but there hasn't been any indication that he was ever here. In fact, as I recall, Adrian found a book in the observatory room under the altar, but it was in Spanish, so Adrian couldn't read it. But it's certainly something that Alice might be able to read if anyone pointed it out.
I think Alice would probably be the one to point out. Adrian clearly has a book he didn't have before going in, but is very clearly trying to not draw attention to it.
I think Alice she called shotgun. She's sitting up front in the car, so unless Adrian gives it to her, she's just looking out the window.
Okay.
We'll bring it up eventually, but things maybe on the road whenever we're a bit further away from here.
Yes.
Also, I did go and check on Rick and Pablo before we left. Said so many sorries to Rick.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Rick, he is clearly blocked out most of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you know, I feel like Adrian is the type who might, you know, ask a few sort of gently leading questions. And it's pretty clear that as soon as he starts thinking about it in detail, it's very upsetting to him. So he just changes the subject.
Major
so he seems like
impression.
he's just walled that off and doesn't want to look at it again. Pablo, for his part, honestly, you find him in the local cathedral, and he looks like he's more or less set up camp there. The priest there has a little English and would probably tell you that he's been here all night. I don't know what happened to him, but he's obviously very upset.
He saw some very distressing things. A big test of faith, not just in God, but humanity. Saw people do some terrible things.
And he kind of nods sadly at that and says, I will not pry, but if he wishes to speak to me, I will listen. And I will pray for him.
Just promise
and for
me.
You.
Promise me, Padre. The things he may say will sound strange if he tries to explain it fully what happened. I don't ask you to believe him. I know that might be difficult with what you hear, but give him patience. He's not a madman. He's a man who went through terrible things.
Okay. And he nods. He doesn't look like he quite understands what you're saying, but he's taking the message to heart. And with that, you're able to pack up and begin the drive back to Mexico City.
Before we leave,
Sure.
Sal will ask Alice to take a look at his wounds.
Good call.
Do you want me to spend a point of first aid? Where's your health at?
Yeah, my
So
health is
that'll-
at 6.
Yeah, so that should you'll heal 3 points,
Okay.
three health.
Thank you very much.
I'm like, oh, you should have let me look at this last night, Sal. Really, it's just on time. It'll be fine, but a bit more of a scar. But oh, God, the ladies love scars, right? Just well, no sudden moves while driving later on. Let's
I
keep it
can't
nice.
promise that.
Yeah.
You know, armadillos and such running out in front of you. It's a dangerous world to drive in.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Well, if you want me to take the wheel, just tell me when you want to switch. I'll say, and then we can be sure there's been no armadillos left. Right? Yeah. So, yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. We'll be fine.
So, from a mechanical standpoint, you've each finished a chapter. So you each get an ability point to add to any ability other than Cthulhu Mythos credit rating or sanity. And you can also move a point from one ability to another, again, excluding those three, if you want to show that you've put less focus on something and more focus on something else. You don't have to do it right this second, but just, remember to make that change.
I think I want to talk about it, yeah.
And also the drive back will be long enough that you guys will basically refresh all of your general and investigative ability pools. Health and stability don't refresh automatically, but I think you've got, you're between the psychoanalysis and the first aid you've got, and then letting those refresh on the way back, you're probably able to get everybody up to full or close to full.
Full health? I'm assuming not full stability for me from -5.
I mean,
I won't say no. But...
I would recommend that you at least try and get everybody at 0 or above.
Mm-hmm. So I can get James, if James is open to me helping, at least back to 0. I have 10 points in my pool, so
Yeah,
I can help a little bit.
And keep me honest here, Brian, because it's been a little while since I've run Gumshoe, but we've kind of got two things happening here, right? We've got the sanity and the stability. And the stability, just because we refresh up to our max again, doesn't mean we're okay, right? This is just
stability is kind of your short-term things that are going on around you that are not natural or willed. Sanity is really kind of the long-term marker.
Right.
And one thing I should point out to the viewers, because we did this during the break, is we pointed out that because Alice was so badly shocked by a mythos thing, she actually lost a point of sanity as a result of this. So she is, as Naomi has been role-playing, going to have some long-term psychological impact from this. But for the rest of you, getting your stability up doesn't mean you're okay, but it means you're functioning better, basically.
So do we hit full refresh or 24-hour refresh?
Let's do a full refresh. I think you'll all be fine with that. You have been
okay. Oh, then everything got well. Then everything went up.
Did that put your stability and everything up?
Yeah, it put.
All right, so that should. All right, so if you haven't done it yet, do the 24-hour refresh.
Okay. And I should put my.
I would adjust your stability back to where it was, minus whatever Adrian.
If Adrian wants to spend some points to get me up to 0 or -1.
Just trying to. I think it's the same as Alice's first aid. So, how many points do you return for each point of first aid you give?
I get 3 points of first aid, 3 points of health for every point of first aid.
Okay, then I give back 3 points of stability for psychoanalysis. That was it. Okay. So I'll give 2 back to myself. For me, it's only 1. How does math work? Okay, I'll use 3 for Alice, so that 3 times 3 is 9. Yeah. Wait, no. It would be. Would it?
Yeah, 6 takes me to 0, and then 3.
1, 2, 3, 4,
I'm at 3.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Actually, it's only 2 per. With psychoanalysis,
okay.
It's not 3 per.
I'm at 2.
Oh, I thought that was 0. For alienists. They get the 3.
No, the big advantage for you is that you can stabilize people for 1 point instead of 2.
Oh, okay.
Actually increase your thing.
Gotcha. Okay, so spending.
If you spend 3 points, you'll get me to 0 exactly.
Okay, I'll spend 4.
Okay, then I'm at 2.
All right, and then how you looking, James?
-1.
Not good. I'll spend. Let's see, 1, 2. Spend 2, so you get 4 points back.
Beautiful. That'll put me at +3.
Yep. And Sal. Oh, damn, Sal. Sal's fine.
Yeah,
I imagine
a few things.
If that's the case, then sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I imagine at some point, begrudgingly, Alice lets James sit up front, and she'll sit back with Adrian and just I don't know, how do we
also
sorry?
I was going to say real quick, you also James and Alice both get 2 more points because I used my last 2.
Okay.
Since you're going to refresh anyway. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I'm up for it. So I'm sitting up back. Yeah.
Just to confirm, like for example, I spent 4 points on that stability roll. That drops my rating to 6, correct?
Correct. Yeah, your stability pool is your rating.
Thank you.
And I will say that while these conversations are going on in the car on the drive back, it's obviously not a very private situation because the other 2 of you are sitting 3 feet away. But in a weird way, it feels like that doesn't matter as much. You know more about these people than you ever have about another human being.
Yep.
So, well,
Do you want to talk about it?
not particularly. I want to put it back in the box.
No, him. Your husband. As
Oh,
much as I saw some memories, I didn't get
Yeah,
the full
James
picture.
James was. James was actually, he was English nobility.
Really? Look at you.
Yeah. So, but well, he was youngest son of some kind of earl or something. So then, they weren't really amused when he came back with an American nurse. You can imagine the scandal. But well, he didn't really stay. It was a drafty castle.
Oh, trust me. I've met some. I've had some English friends in my time at university. They love scandal like that.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think we went back once to the castle, but it was, I don't know. It was fun. We spent some time in Europe, and no, oh well.
How'd you meet him?
Well, he ran off and he joined the army, and then he got shot, and then he got nursed back to health by yours truly. So it was very cliche, and he was very dashing. So, but oh well. It's a long time ago now. Just feels a bit fresh and yeah.
Oh, assuredly.
Oh well, but we've got something to do.
It's true.
Things to work on.
Having something to do is very good for the moment.
Yeah, purpose.
I will want to keep checking in with each of you, though, as we go on. I won't try to stop us from going forward. I understand that having something to do is important at the moment, but I'll be checking in.
Well, thanks, Adrian. That's good to hear. Yeah. But.
It definitely looks like Adrian's questioning whether he should say something specific.
You all right?
Hardly.
Oh well, I think you're probably.
If I explained why I'm alright at the moment, I think you would assume me even madder than you must already assume me. So, we'll save that for later. But, to go on with what's keeping our mind intact at the moment, takes out the book, ironically enough, and hands it to Alice.
Ah!
I believe you are good with this language. Behold the enemy.
Where'd you find this? I open it. Is it in Spanish?
It is.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Spanish. James, I might need to move up front again at our next front. Otherwise, I'll get car sick back here in the back. So my turn up front again, and then I'll say, "Well, I'll see what it says." And then as we do a pit stop and then we continue driving, I'm going to read it out loud. It seems to have belonged to an Alvar Vasquez, and there's an address in Mexico City on it, some place we can look for. Let's see. It has murdered them. I know
What a
not
great
by
start.
what hands. I was spared, but I see their blood staining the grasses beyond the sight of my prison, and I feel the guilt washing over me. Perhaps I am not doomed to die in the cell after all. When I woke from my frantic sleep, I became increasingly fascinated by the Mayan symbols upon the wall, or rather, Mayan-like, for these are a dialect. There are dialect differences which made it difficult immediately to comprehend them. And I, flicked through. Seems like there's been pages ripped out. The few scraps that have survived, clinging to the well-stitched binding, they depict the fragmentary edges of Mayan glyphs with enigmatic but incomprehensible notes concerning the drift by which they might have been altered into the forms seen upon the wall. And then there's some more text here. The protective nature of the red stone was initially baffling. There is nothing of the right which would suggest that an immediate danger to the traveler. But then I reflected that some of the equations were suggestive of what I had read in the occult lore of Magnus Pigel. And I thought of his great machine, which became buried in German mud. And now I see it as a shell, not against the spell, but against that place outside. It is obvious now, all who came with me are dead, only I remain, and only because I have found the refuge of this shell. Now, there's still some pages missing here.
And just to give you a piece of information that you would know, Alice, that name Magnus Pagel, he was a German physician in like the early 17th century. He's one of the first people that wrote a text on the theory of blood transfusion.
Okay, I will share that with the group. It moves when you're not looking. It knows when you're not looking. I must take great care or they will slip through the slits. Then there's a chunk of page towards the rear third of the notebook.
And as soon as you say that, Alice, I interrupt you and I go, I met this man. He was with me. I think maybe you saw him briefly. I think he wrote this.
Okay, so there's detailed instructions on how to control the chamber, which the author refers to as the observatory. According to the journal, through sheer force of will, harnessed and transmitted through the observatory's red stones, an individual can shuttle the observatory along its predetermined circuit. The notes also indicate that it may be possible to direct the observatory to view or return to a site known to you. And then, it looks like whoever wrote this kind of, it's nearly, in school when you did wrong, it says, I cannot leave, I cannot leave, I cannot leave, I cannot leave, I cannot leave. Here's something else. A titanic will struggles with my own. It overcomes me. It restrains me. It holds me. It imprisons me. It locks me. It keeps me. It wants me. It thirsts me. It hungers. It is beating at the door. Well, and I close the book.
It feels a little close to home.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going back there, so.
Oh yeah, no. We're not going back there.
You no longer need to steer the room.
I'll pass the book back to Adrian. So, well,
Adrian's kind of in his head going through all the colors that they've seen, and kind of going on the artistic sensitivity side of just the color motifs that they've seen of the black stone, red stone, the purple planet, the orange eminence. Is very much kind of in his mind making a sort of like tapestry or mural, trying to piece together like what these colors could mean, what they could represent. Trying to not go off of symbolism because he imagines it has nothing to do with the human recognition of what colors mean. So it's just kind of mindlessly scrawling in his brain these colors.
And I would say for Adrian, it reminds him weirdly for a moment of Munch's painting The Scream, with the sky being that weird red orange color and all all the landscape being off. But yeah, that's just a bizarre color changing situation. But with that, the rest of the drive back to Mexico City is uneventful and frankly kind of boring, which is not unwelcome at a time like this. And in the late afternoon of Friday the 26th, you are pulling back into Mexico City. And I think that's probably a good place to call it for the week. Let's run some credits, and then we have some discussions afterward, which should be fun.
In a mansion grand where secrets lie, Walter Winston lived, but he had to die. His daughter Janet, fierce and bold, hired a team to find the stories untold. Oh, Walter Winston, Mr. Mystery Man, caught in a web of a sinister plan, with cults and crimes and shadows so dark. His story ignites like a match to a spark. Ex-cop, doc, gangster, nurse in the mix, unraveling truths in a dance of tricks. Swinging through secrets, meet the moon's gleam, they chase the whispers of a deadly dream.
We're back.
All right. Well, that was something. This is one of those moments in the campaign that obviously can change everything for a lot of people. It's particularly interesting because this really turned out to be the first major, weird, unnatural event that you guys encounter. So you kind of went from mildly odd, all the way up the scale.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that, you know, you guys ended up as stable as you collectively did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was, I was a little concerned about this. I knew you guys were going to handle it beautifully as players, but it's always, you always have to worry about where things go with the, with the characters' reactions, which I love, by the way. So let's talk about some thoughts and stars and wishes. And I want to start with Naomi.
Stars, I think I really, really loved, because you set this up a couple weeks ago when you asked us separately, what's your biggest fear, what's your this, and now I hear that you ask different questions of everybody, and it was just such a perfect moment and wonderful way and very natural way to get to know our characters and get to know each other even better. So I just love that. And then I think just for the moments, I think I really enjoyed Sal's, feeling dirty and cleaning everything and having multiple showers. I just, especially because he was the poor one who had to regurgitate the toad or whatever it was. So
That's probably fine.
So, and I'd say my wish is, oh well, that it wasn't another nearly 2 months before we play again. But
I know, I know.
Really,
We're gonna
really looking forward to where we go from here and how we play further. So yeah.
Absolutely. Chris, how about you?
My star is Naomi. I mean, her depiction of the scene, that was just, I mean, you could see and feel and hear the emotion. I'm like, holy shit.
Broke my heart.
Yes.
And I knew it was coming.
So very, 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 very well done on that. Wishes. Well, I don't really know at this point. I think that we're on the right track. I just wish that stuff would stay still long enough to kill it. Everything the nail does to Sal, and this phasing in and out just it makes it difficult for him to really lay down his anger and vent and yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to giving you some opportunities to vent some of that anger now. Mac, thoughts, stars, and wishes.
Why do you do this to us, man? What was that about?
It's in the book, man. I had no control. I was forced to, really.
It's always strange playing my character, and most of my characters whenever it comes to a situation like this pivotal moment, because the common trait that my characters have is addressing cataclysmic events in an unorthodox manner, and it's always scary for me because there's I don't want to trivialize it, but it's kind of me trying to interpret because I interpret information differently in everyday life just because of how my brain works. So trying to translate that into a game on this level is where's the line between making the character notably not unaffected but affected differently than others,
Right,
while not trivializing it or making fun of it or making it seem like it's not a big deal. So trying to figure out the reason that Adrian would be sane after all of this was really fun, and it was really interesting seeing how it goes against and with all the other characters as well. Kind of felt like definitely something that we've been building up to, but also all of us kind of seemed like, yeah, we kind of have to figure out real quick, how would we respond to seeing an eye blasting us with energy? It's not something you can really prepare for, but I thought everyone did really amazing being in character in that moment. I think my star was just in general the journey back, because kind of seeing that it was Sal and Adrian who were the only ones with positive stability. Very much Sal stepping into that kind of position of, I need to make sure these people get out of here alive. And seeing how just everybody dealt with that silence of, we are not going to heal from this tonight or for a lot of nights. So just seeing the journey through the forest was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, that was great. Mr. Craig. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, Mac. Sorry, did you have a wish for going forward?
I just really want to. I really want to see how we deal with the aftermath of this mentally. Because I know why Adrian is able to handle this, and it's a very weird reason, but I want him to be able to explain it in a session, so I won't explain it yet. But I'm really excited to see how everybody else handles it.
Nice. All right, Craig.
Yeah, I think I'll riff off of that, Mac, because we've seen James struggling with, what are we doing, right? And I think that moment, the full exposure of everybody, this promise that was alluded to by this thing, now is that's all he has. That's all he's doing. So even though he's compartmentalized and put things away, he is so single rail right now that it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The other thing I'm interested to discover about James is he is not going to exert himself the way he has in the past. I think that in my mind, if I act like a cop in front of these three people, they'll remember what they saw. So I'm going to be really interested to see where James leads me as the player, going forward. It's going to be really fascinating. The star for me, everything was already mentioned, but it was really, really well handled, Brian, that entire supernatural moment with the eye and the lightning and all of it. It was so clear in my mind. You gave just enough and allowed us to run with it. And that's a tough thing. It's in a fantasy game, it's almost easier to describe and set those things. But when you have to make it a very clear that this is outside of our reality, like that, it worked perfectly. So that I really appreciated. And I was there the whole time. It was very nice. The unfolding of our secrets, because it helped put us there in that moment where our characters were being exposed to this the first time in the same way us players were, which was really cool. And as far as wishes is concerned, I just want to keep discovering James. I'm really enjoying playing him, and learning about him and following him. So I hope I get to continue to do that, because I think I've really enjoyed that as a player. Go ahead, Mac.
I just had a question for everyone, actually. How easy was it to decide between yes or no?
Well, that was really hard. I wanted to get back to that as well. I'm wondering, do we know what each other said? Do we know that we were all asked the question?
I think you all know that the offer was given to all of you. I don't think you know who said yes. Yeah. And I will say that from my perspective, those answers were almost the exact opposite of what I was expecting. Really? I figured if anybody said yes, it was going to be Adrian.
Well, I can tell you why James said yes. For him, is again this monolith, this single purpose, right? So I don't care what I have to pay for making this decision, but if this is going to get me to ending this thing, then that is what I need to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So for James, it was really easy, because he doesn't care now what happens, what price has to be paid. Literally doesn't give a shit.
For Sal, it was the same thing. With the association of all the misfortune and just weird crap that's went on in his life, and the alluding that these cultists were responsible for his mother's death. I mean, that was like, yes, no problem. We'll take care of this.
Okay. Well, Alice wasn't entirely in her right mind, and she's associated with something was stolen, and with this, you can get it back.
Yep.
And I love that you took that direction. That is a beautiful call. I mean, I have to say, I love that I'm continuously learning so much more about these characters. And you keep surprising me, and that is one of my favorite things.
That's delightful.
I think for Adrian, I will say the initial response was definitely yeah, because it's Adrian. But I stopped and thought for a second about thinking of the memories that we all got exposed, how his was about literally running away from running away. And then also really Adrian was quite affected by James's memory because of their history with authority figures. That's what drove them to say no. They remembered because they were just got from studying Austria with the rise of the Nazi Party. So they were focused on the oppression side of it, of totalitarian, do whatever it takes to get things out. And the phrase that was playing in my mind was, you don't ask the ants politely to leave, you crush them out. So thinking, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to do whatever it takes to get the image of safety.
Right.
I
love that.
I don't want to beat people in the streets for looking deranged. I don't want to stage a crime scene. So I don't want to accept a deal I know nothing about if it means I get to have something destroyed.
One of the things I really like, this is obviously a part of the adventure that can get really kind of ridiculous and weird if you're not careful. What I love about it is the way it's presented, that everyone is kind of sharing those memories. For one thing, this is a scene where it could very easily be just me talking at you for half an hour.
Sure.
Because I'm describing what this thing does and your characters really aren't in the position to move or react. But getting those memories out, gets you guys back present in the table, and also I think ties the party together in a way that you couldn't really get any other way. So I love the way it's written.
Was that your decision, Brian, or is that
no? That's in the module. It's fleshed out a lot more in Justin Alexander's sort of remix of it. Kind of dives into that a lot deeper, and I really appreciate the way he did it. But yeah, it's like there's a couple different ways you can present the way this thing is communicating with you, but I think the rummaging through memories was just way the most effective.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, my star, I think, is going to have to go to Naomi. I mean, you all knocked it out of the park with those memories, but that was some of the most affecting role playing I've seen in a long time.
Yep.
I think we may need to have a content warning on this YouTube video, because that was brutal in the best way. Yeah, and my wish is that we can get back to playing sooner now that everyone is realigned with a new purpose. I can't wait to see this lead on. When is our next date, Craig?
So unintentionally, but we're going to be taking a bit of a break. We're going to come back in October. In the meantime, you're going to have Forbidden Lands continuing, as well as next month we've got the premiere of Outgunned, which is going to be totally very different than this game. But we'll be back here in October, and we're going to continue playing this. So this is not a season break; it's just a scheduling break. Everything kept. We'd find the next date, and one of us was like, "Yeah, can't do that one," and there's just we ended up in October, which is fun.
You've all been there if you're a gamer.
Yeah. So a couple things. One. If you did not watch us play Something Is Wrong with This House, and you like horror, you're going to want to check that out. We're going to be doing it again next month using the Ghost Hunt variant of it. It's a very clever little game that we had a lot of fun with, and it was a true one-shot, which is something that's not normal for this channel. And then we've got Shiver going, and that's going to continue. That comes back next month as well. But can't wait to see everybody. Cheers all.
I love you all. I'm very proud of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.